It's been 2 weeks since I recorded anything because I ran into some issues here. The first issue, of course, was these nuts here. I couldn't get these off with the tools I had. So I ended up, I ended up stripping this nut right here. So I took it into work, and with an air tool I was able to run off these 4 nuts, no problem. However, this one, it just got worse whatever we tried. In the end, we used a size, these nuts are size 19, and we ended up using a size 18 socket, hammered it on with a really big copper hammer, and after some attempts we were able to get this nut off, but it is, as you can see, completely ruined. But it's off. The thread still looks good. So that's one issue solved. So, and we can continue with replacing the sprocket here. Now, the second issue was I got the wrong sprocket. Now, I installed it because I didn't have anything other at hand at the moment, and I wanted to continue, I wanted to get it finished. But since I had to wait for the sprocket anyway, or the nuts to come off anyway, I got in touch with the shop that sold me the sprocket, and basically told them, well, I've got the wrong size sprocket, could you send me the right one? And the next day they sent over a courier that brought me the correct sprocket and took the old one with them. So that was, well, that's very well done. Not a lot of shops that I know of would do that. So that's, plus points for service. So first thing I'm going to do is install this sprocket here, the correct 14-tooth sprocket instead of the 15-tooth that I received. You know the 15-tooth is correct, but I want to go one size lower. So I'm going to install this, and then I'm going to continue with the rear sprocket. Installing the sprocket is quite easy. Just take the nut off, which was already loose, and install this sprocket, and I'm going to install it with the text facing towards me. I'm going to get that on here. Alright, I'm going to leave this nut loose, because we will tighten this at a later point when the chain is on here. Alright, so now the nuts are loose. I'm just going to get these nuts off, and I'm going to discard these because obviously I ruined this entire nut right here. I think, according to the Haynes manual, these should be replaced anyway, though I guess they can be reused. That's not an issue. But I ended up ordering 5 new nuts, which took, well, a week and a half or something to arrive. I was not very happy with that, but I got them now. So we have one sprocket. I'm actually going to clean up these threads a bit with some steel wool, and then I'm going to fit the new sprocket. It's not going to make a lot of difference, but the threads will look a lot nicer here. So hopefully, just getting the corrosion out a bit actually. So now that the sprocket hub is cleaner than it was before, we can get the sprocket on there, the new sprocket on here. I'm going to fit it with the lettering facing me. There we go. Get these nuts out of the way, and I'm going to get these new nuts. And I can only imagine that these nuts at some point looked as good as these as well. But they do look to be a different size. I think those are size 17, that's correct. The old ones were size 19. Alright, one more thing. I've been debating what to do with these threads. Whether to lock these nuts into place with Loctite or put some copper grease on them. I've decided to go with copper grease for the simple reason that, well, both products perform the same function, prevent corrosion, and I think that was somewhat of an issue with trying to get these old nuts off. And well, Loctite is just going to lock it into place. So to err on the side of caution, yeah, I could do this with a finger, but pencil, this provides me with a little bit more precision to do it, especially around the back here. It's not a lot. Just enough to cover the threads, and hope that at some point in the future, when these have to come off, well, it'll be a little bit less seized than it was now. Alright, we'll get the nuts on. These are locking nuts, by the way. I'm not sure how this locking, or what this locking mechanism is called. They are locking nuts, so that's why I'm not afraid that they will vibrate loose without using Loctite. I'm just going to run these down hand tight for now, and in a star-shaped pattern. And I'm going to torque these up once the entire assembly here is on the bike, and when the bike is on the ground. That will give me a little bit more leverage to torque them down. Alright, so I think that's it for now. Yep, they're all done. So let's get this on the bike. Let's put this back in its place. Now this should be a fairly tight fit. Oh, the rubbers are getting in the way. Now there shouldn't be any play on this. As you can see, there is some. So I will have to replace these rubbers at some point. But I don't have them, so, well, just have to deal with it. Alright, let's put the wheel back on the bike. And position the actual holders here. These are adjusters. Alright, that's it. The wheel is in. Good. Now I'm going to solve these, what is this measurement thing here? A spacer and the nut. I'm not going to tighten down anything right now because I know I need to release these thread adjusters to thread the chain through, because the chain is going to be a different size. I'm going to have to probably move the wheel a lot closer forward. But first, the chain. I've undone these thread adjusters here, so I can move the wheel pretty much as much forward as it should go. I can probably go a little bit further, but not by much, so I hope that will be enough. And right here we've got a wonderful new chain and a link with some of the O-rings or X-rings, I'm not sure what they are. Unfortunately this kit did not come with some extra grease to grease the links here, but everything looks greased up as well as it should. So let's get this on. I'm going to thread the chain on the rear sprocket here and feed it through like that to the along this chain guide thing here, and to the front sprocket. Go on. There we go. Let's go back here. Now normally if you're replacing a chain from an old bike, you would put the chains side by side and try to measure the length. But I can't do that since, well, the length is going to be different. Or to basically, you should have the same amount of links, but that's going to be different in my case. And as you can see, I'm currently short by one link, so I'm going to have to see if I can move the wheel forward. Oh, actually I'm fine. That looks fine. I don't think I can make it any better than this right now. Nope. There's still some slack here. Oh, quite a lot actually. But that's good. You should always have some slack. No, wait, I'm still short by one link. So I need the wheel to move forward by just a tiny bit so I can get this final adjustment here. I'm just going to adjust this thing here, and I'm going to do the same on the other side and see what that gives me. I'm really on the extreme right now. Alright, that's it. I got it. There's still some slack, so I can always move back just a little bit, but that's perfect. So I'm going to move this here so it stops falling off. There we go. You can see there's still a little slop here, but that's from the chain adjuster, or not the adjusters, the bushings in here, which we'll be replacing. So let's get this kit open here. And let's use this as a working surface. These are the locking link, the closing link if you will, and some new rubber parts. Now usually I would expect it there to be well, a little packet of grease in here to really lube this up, but there wasn't in this kit. So I'm just going to do it like this because there's already quite a bit of lube on here. So I'm going to fit these O-rings, which sit on either side. Actually, I think they're X-rings because there's like a little groove that sits in the middle of them. Okay. Let's slot this through the back. There we go. Then the other two O-rings go on top of this. And then the closing link goes over top of that. As you can see, it doesn't quite fit because the link still needs to be pressed through. So I'm going to see if I have a tool with which I can do that. Alright, so this is where our chain tool comes in again. And this chain tool has basically a little anvil on the back here and a little insert that will fit over the chain here and allow the pins to come through. So I'll have to position that, and for my own comfort I'm going to position it down here. Open it up a bit more. A little bit more. There we go. And the idea is to push the links through the closing link over there, the little pins through the closing link. I may have to back it off occasionally to check how they're doing, but okay. And to be perfect, I should have one of those measuring calipers to basically measure the distance between the links here and the links there. But I don't have one, so I'm just going to have to do it by eye. They are quite a ways through now. Just seeing if they move freely like all the other links, because I don't want to bind it up. But I think it may need a bit more. Just having a look on the back here. Yes, it needs just a little bit more adjustment here. Oh, damn it. I think this should just about do it. Well, it's completely through. Right, final step is riveting the chain. So I've got the riveting attachments here, which is like a little anvil on the back, and a little circular size thing that will do the actual riveting. So let's fit that over here. Alright, and have the depression in this sit in the link at the back, or the rivet at the back. You kind of feel it when it sits where it's supposed to. That's right there. And the little ball here needs to sit at the center of the rivet. Actually quite hard to see. I'm not sure if that's right. I almost knocked over the camera. No, that's not right. So I have to move you a bit to the side here. That's it. That's where it's supposed to sit. So the depression is now sitting on the link, or the actual pin at the back. And at the front, we've got the little ball here. And now we compress this. Let's move it back a bit. Check what we've done. This is something you have to do this a couple times. So basically, you're always just pressing it a little bit and looking back to see if it sits right. But it's slowly mushrooming open right now, so. only doing like a quarter turn at a time, so I don't overdo it. But this is starting to look quite good. The width of the pin that's been riveted should look about the same width as the other rivets that are in here. Now again, there in the Haynes manual it says to measure this, and then you'll know if it's correct, because there's a measurement in the Haynes manual. But I don't have a caliper to do that, so I have to do it by eye. Now the second rivet, it sits correct. Let's have a look. It's opening up nicely as well. Let's have a look here. Yep, both links move quite nicely, so they're not bound up in any way. I'm going to give it another half a turn, maybe a quarter turn. This would be a lot easier if I had the correct measuring equipment, but I don't, so I have to make do with what I have. It still moves quite good. I think that's it. So I'm going to have the riveted link, which is right here, run along this small sprocket here, and see if it lines up. As you can see, it straightens up. Oh my God, English! It straightens up quite nicely here. When I move it around here, as you can see, this is the rivet that I did. This is the link next to it. Moves quite freely. This one as well. And around here, it's the same thing. So that's good. Right, I just moved the bike around a bit to make it a bit easier to work on and to tension the chain when we get to it. But for now, I'm just going to do up these bolts and nuts here. So to do the one in the front, I'm going to lock the rear wheel in place again. Well, I should actually do this from the bottom. There we go. This one is 54 Newton-meters, so that's quite okay. Right, that's it. And now to do the one in the rear, or the ones in the rear, there's 5 of them, and they need to be 108. Well, I can't really lock the wheel in place, so I'll just move you around a bit. Yeah. So I'm just going to do it like this and use the swing arm as a rest. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5. Right, so the final job here is to refit the sprocket cover. Which is where it sits. And I believe, no, I'm sure that this one's set at the top. That's correct. Well, I was wrong at first, and this one's set at the bottom. These don't have a torque spec, and it's not really necessary anymore. They're not critical parts. Alright, that's where that needs to be. And now the speedometer cable here just fits right into place there with these two little 8mm bolts. That's wrist tight, that's enough. Alright, now let's have a look at the chain tension, and then we're almost done. Alright, so it's now time to tension the chain. The chain tension here needs to be 30 to 40 millimeters. Now that is normally with a rider on it. So, but I don't have an assistant to help me here, so I'm just going to have to do it by eye somewhat. So I'm going to run down the adjuster nuts here until I get to a setting that's acceptable. And of course, to make life easier on me, these adjuster nuts are not the same size on both ends. I'm going to set it up at the extreme setting, so the furthest setting on the indicators here on both ends, but that is already way too tight. Yeah, so I'm going to have to come back a bit. And a bit on this side as well. I just hammer it into place so to make sure that it's absolutely spot forward as it'll go. So let's measure this now from the top of the chain, where the chain is the slackest, top of the chain to the top of the chain. That is now at 30 millimeters. A little bit over actually, so let's go in a tad more. Yeah, that's okay, that's about where I want it to sit. Now I just need to make sure that they are equal at both ends so that the wheel is not running out of alignment. So this is how much. This is going to measure from the indicator mark here. Now there's indicators here, but it's in front of the indicators. So I'm just going to measure it from the mark to the back of the wheel. I've got 6.4. Let's do the same here. That's 6.4 as well, so that is near as makes no difference. Perfect. So I'm going to tighten down these adjuster bolts And then it's time to do the axle. Yep, that's where I want it to sit. So let's tighten down the axle now. The axle needs to be done up to 188 Newton meters. Dirt on there. That's it. Now the final thing to do before we ride this is to lubricate the chain with some proper chain lubricant. Because even though there's some lubricant on it already, that is just to keep it from rusting during transport. So that's it. Spray some on the back as well. Well, finally the chain and sprocket change is done. It took about 2 weeks longer than I would have wanted to. The job itself isn't all that difficult, but you do need some specialist tools like the chain breaker tool. Otherwise, you can't do any of that. It is advisable to also have a torque wrench, but then again, it's advisable to have this around for many other things as well. So the only specialist tool is the chain breaker. If you don't have that, you can't do that. But they're not that expensive. They run about 30 or 40 euros, I think. So you could get one of these, and it's still going to be cheaper than having it done at a dealer. Now, the brake caliper is still loose on the bike. You can't see that from there, but that's okay. I'm going to fit that later because it needs a new set of pads and actually a new disc as well. So I'm going to do that later. Anyway, I hope you learned something, and thank you all for watching. Goodbye.